And on the eve of that, CNN host Van Jones is walking back comments he made about the war in Gaza that sparked widespread outrage online. During an appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher this past Friday, Van Jones described viral videos showing dead Palestinian children as part of what he called a quote massive disinformation campaign by Iran and Qatar. His comments in terms of the live studio audience drew laughter, uh, but of course, swift condemnation afterward. He basically said that this massive disinformation campaign has been so intense that when you look at your phone, all you see is dead Palestinian baby, or dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, Diddy, dead Gaza baby. The audience laughed. Bill Maher laughed. The people on the panel next to him laughed. Most of the world, however, didn't laugh. Um, it was a pretty disturbing comment. And over the weekend, it was so bad that Van Jones issued a public apology on X, and I believe on his Instagram stories as well, which is where I saw it, writing that his remarks were, quote, insensitive and hurtful. He said that the suffering of the people of Gaza, especially children, quote, is not a punchline. And he also added that he was, quote, deeply sorry it came across that way. Jones said his intent was to warn about foreign disinformation campaigns, but admitted that his words were, quote, flat out insensitive. He wrote, babies are dying every day in Gaza. Nobody should make light of that. So many things to talk about here. First, who cares about Van Jones's apology? For multiple reasons. One, Van Jones has made it very clear in the last 2 years that he no longer has the position he had a decade ago, 2 decades ago, where we spoke about the urgency and the necessity of a Palestinian state, where he talked about a necessary end to the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. I guess my point is Van Jones knows what the right side of the issue is. Van Jones knows how to stand on the right side of history. He just chooses not to. Uh, Second, Van Jones was very strategic in both what he said that night and what he apologized for. Again, when someone says, I'm sorry it came across that way, you're still kind of saying, I'm sorry you took it that way, as opposed to, I'm sorry for what I did. But I don't want to get into the kind of the semantic piece of this, although I still don't believe it was an earnest apology, even on its face. He said that he apologized for his tone. He apologized uh, for being insensitive and hurtful, which he was, and he should apologize for that. And that the reality that he described was not or should not be a punchline. But all that is about delivery. There was a cruelty and an insensitivity in his delivery. But what we have to remember is it's not just the delivery here. It wasn't just that he was mean. The issue here is that he wasn't telling the truth. He wasn't speaking the truth. Um, yes, babies are dying in Gaza every day. Somehow he managed to say that, but still couldn't manage to say why. He still couldn't manage to explain that the dead Gaza babies that he talked about were because of the violence, the gross transgressions, the willful indifference, etc., of the Israeli state. Yeah, yeah, babies are dying every day. Yeah, but why, Van? And that gets to the heart of the matter. The thing that he did not apologize for, the thing that he did not acknowledge, was this claim that he made that there is a mass disinformation campaign by Iran and Qatar. Based on what? Where's your evidence, Van? Where's your proof? Where's the proof of a mass disinformation campaign? But let's keep going, right? Let's say there was a mass disinformation campaign or a mass campaign to control what pops up on our phones. Let's just say that's true. It's not, but let's just say it's true. In this case, I'm not saying there's no efforts being made to control what we see. Of course there is. Uh, but in this matter, let's just say, for argument's sake, that Iran and Qatar conspire to make sure that all we see in our phone is dead Palestinian babies. That doesn't negate the fact that there are children, as you pointed out, man, dying every single day in Gaza. So why would you be more focused on who's putting a spotlight on the suffering than the suffering itself? You're a freedom fighter, man. That's what you called yourself, right? You were an activist. You were an organizer. You were a truth teller. If there's an illegal war happening, if there is a genocide happening, why the hell are you worried about who's telling us about it rather than the fact that it is happening? But in doing that, you're making it seem as if not only are Iran and Qatar conspiring, as you said, to turn the West against itself, whatever the hell that means, but you're trying to make it seem as if the children and the stories of children and the death that we're witnessing in Gaza is somehow manufactured, somehow less authentic, and that this campaign is overstating or misrepresenting what's happening there. That claim, that logic is a dangerous one. It's a dangerous one. It's a dangerous one. I just need to be very clear about that. I need to be clear about that. Um, so by the time Van gets to the point of apologizing, he not only is offering a bullshit apology, he's not only offering I saw you sorry you took it that way apology. I'm sorry for the harshness of my tone apology. But he's still actively engaging in the very thing that he's accusing Iran and Qatar of, which is what? Disinformation. That's a dangerous thing. So who cares about Van's apology? This is who he is. You know, people thought I was being harsh when he showed up to the pro-Israel rally in DC 2 years ago, and I criticized him for it. People said, "Oh, you're being too harsh. He's just trying to mend the fences. He's trying to uh, address the very real pain of Jewish people around the world due to the 1,100, 1,200 deaths that occurred on October 7th." I didn't believe it. I spoke to Van myself. I didn't like what I heard. I didn't like the explanation. I didn't like the response afterward. I haven't liked what I've heard since, and I didn't like what I heard here. I don't buy the apology. I don't accept the apology. It's also noteworthy that he's able to get that off without any real material punishment, any professional punishment. I'm not calling for his firing. I'm not calling for him to be attacked or censured or silenced for his words, but I do notice that his employer or employers haven't said a word. They haven't spoken out. They haven't condemned him. They haven't fired him. That has to mean something. There has to be a reason for that. Um, let's be honest about that. Let's be honest about that. Let's figure out why it's okay to make a joke like that. I mean, God forbid someone were to say that about Israeli babies. God forbid someone were to say that about Jewish babies. God forbid someone were to say that about American babies. God forbid someone would say that about French babies or Canadian babies. I mean, these are not statements that anyone should say about anybody's babies. All babies are worth the same, in my estimation. Palestinian babies and maybe black babies, depending on where you are about the only babies you can make a comment about that and be okay professionally, be okay socially, not lose anything that you care about. That says a lot. It says a whole lot.